Welcome back. This is the morning show here on Signature TV. And Charles here. So the president, Tinubu, has come to Anambra State and returned back. The ripple still remains with us. This is the very second time he would be visiting the southeast.
I think that it is too early to call anything to say that it is that Governor Chukwuma Soludo may be home and dry for November 8th. But as of today, if you take an opinion sample in Anambra State today, from what people are saying in the streets or elsewhere on social media, Governor Chukwuma Soludo is the man to beat for 2024 November. But what happens once the campaign begins and with the quality of candidates that have emerged in other parties, it's not something that the APOGA need to, of course, they know that it's a task to return Governor Chukwuma Soludo on November 8th because we have just now a lot of heavyweights and people you can push over at all. Nicholas Ukachukwu has a lot of capacity, and that is the APC, the ruling party. We are not sure where, nobody is sure yet if the president has given the nod to supporting APOGA in Anambra State because, of course, as far as we are concerned, all we heard on Thursday was a political statement both from the governor and from the president. What is left to be seen is where their actions, what they are going to do as we lead up to November 8th. But suffice it to say that there is at least a three-horse race between Governor Chukwuma Soludo, Chief George Moalo of the Labour Party, as well as Nicholas Ukachukwu of the APC. So November 8th will be very interesting, and I'm thinking that Governor Chukwuma Soludo may score just a bit lesser because last time he won in 2021, he scored above 40% of the votes. I'm thinking that even if he's going to win, it's going to be probably less than 35% of the votes.
You said that he's now half as popular, as he was in 2021 when he ran the first tenure. I'm just wondering how much of Peter Obi's influence, or should I say, how much of his non-support for Peter Obi in the 2023 election dampened his popularity in Anambra State?
Well, you look at it from the angle of what the APOGA party have always preached all the years. So people are seeing Governor Professor Soludo as somebody along one near. Along one near in the sense, I think for the non-Igbo listeners, mean that you shouldn't leave your brother behind. And so his actions in 2023 his actions were interpreted as though he left his brother behind, his brother Peter Obi behind in support of others. And in politics, politics is local. And for the Anambra, who gave 97% of their votes, even despite his criticisms and his articles, in series of articles lampooning Peter Obi, who, of course, is being seen as somebody who did nothing to him. Of course, you find that the sentiments of the masses in Anambra State, so many people who used to like him, no longer like him on that note. And of course, you also see the other option, the other angle of his loss of popularity is also coming from the fact that when he came on board, he promised a Dubai Taiwan Anambra. And the Anambra, a lot of people still feel that his performance so far has been underwhelming. When you compare it with the type of laudable promises he made in 2021 leading up to the election. And so on these two counts, he's lost a lot of steam. You also know that Governor Peter Obi is still considered the best governor Anambra had up till now. Even up till now, you see with the indices in education and how Anambra is falling back in education, people are now comparing and saying, okay, if a trader could put Anambra at number 1 and 2 throughout his 8 years, how come a professor is putting us at number 28, in a performances in WAEC and NECO? And so there are questions that to be answered. People are saying that Dr. Soludo is not living up to expectation. And his criticism of Peter Obi is also not helping the matter because as far as Anambra is concerned, Peter Obi would always be a factor. Will always be a factor far more than Soludo would be in terms of national politics.
So if Peter Obi's influence, really affected his popularity, would that really make him lose that elections on November 8th, you think?
It will. It depends on what happens. Again, this would now bring me to look at the candidate of the Labour Party, which is Chief George Moalo. If Peter Obi brings his weight, puts his weight during the campaigns and comes down to Anambra to really campaign alongside somebody as sitting that George Moalo, I don't know who is going to pitch for his deputy. Of course, you see how that could cause a lot of trouble in terms of how people are going to vote. Because of we note that Labour Party is very recognizable. I mean, their logo people just last election in 2023, a lot of people voted overwhelmingly for Labour Party across the Southeast, not just in Anambra State. So if Peter Obi should bear his weight down in Anambra for the campaign and really come out and lead that campaign alongside George Moghalu, then you would find that it's going to be a very serious tough one for Governor Chukwuma Soludo. Then if you add that to the APC, with Lagos and the deputy now, the election, I don't know if it's confirmed officially, with Ekunife deputizing him. This election is going to be the toughest one ever, as I see it. It's not as the people, some people are looking at it, especially people in the ruling or progressive Grand Alliance. They're not seeing the bigger picture of the effects of the support that Governor Soludo gave to denied Peter Obi in 2023. It's going to be a huge talking point for this election.
Now, this election looks to me like a double-edged sword for Peter Obi going into the 2027 election. I mean, that is his state. That is the only state that gave him 97%, votes in the last elections. Do you think he should be interested? Do you think, he should be vested in this? Because it's also going to spiral with the results. When the result comes out and maybe APGA wins, it will look like he or Labour Party, their steam has been reduced. There is this talk in town about the fact that Labour Party has been decimated. Peter Obi's popularity has dwindled over time, giving to experiences of what we're seeing in the Labour Party and or whatnot. Do you think he should be interested in Anambra state elections? Some people say, he should not be interested because Anambra is given for the presidential. But in the state election, do you think there's something to show for it so that, when he goes into the national, people can point out to the result of the Anambra elections and say, look, by and large, he was able to bring his weight and the results show that he's still popular?
Well, you know that by now that Peter Obi is what he is. Amidst all these whole tantrums being thrown by the governor unprovoked, Peter Obi has maintained his cap because he alone knows how much how much he's endeared to the hearts of Anambra. And so you will find that his participation in the state government election would count so much. Why it will count is that Labour needs to pull their weight. Labour needs to be seen as a force in Anambra State. The people who say that it will not affect the outcome of the presidential election are correct. They are correct because, the Igbos, especially in the Anambra.
Quite interesting. And now we have, like you mentioned, a number of disenchanted people who think that he has performed, below par. So you wonder really the dynamics of that election, what the result is going to be. Would it be one-way street? Would it be, people not really showing up to the election because they feel that, the elections might be rigged? So it just plays out a very, insatiable, or you can't really predict what's going to happen on the day of the election or what the result is going to be about, really. Do you think the unity of the opposition, like a measure of some sort, say for instance, decides that, the only way we can oust the governor, given that he's not that popular anymore, like he was in 2021, is by coming together or collapsing his structures together into one in order to beat it? If he does that, do you think that it would have more chances to oust the governor?
Yeah, that would ideally be something, in more developed democracies. That is ideally something that one would expect to see. But in Anambra State, of course, in Nigeria, our democracy has not reached to the point where people are ideological in their leaning. But suffice it to say that, of course, just like you are ideological in their leaning. But suffice it to say that, of course, just like you mentioned, that people who may not be voting in this election because, for the simple fact that they don't like the type of politics, why they may, be comfortable with the level of work that the governor has done. On a program last time, somebody called in and said there was not going to be, I think three or four people said they were not going to be voting in the election. It remains that the opposition in Anambra State is structured in such a way that I don't see them aligning. You see a George Moghalu, let's look at the figures. A George Moghalu who is of the APC, who who is of course his DNA is the APC. He was part of the founding members of the APC, and just last year he moved to the Labour Party, and he's now the political flag bearer for the Labour Party. Then you look at the other part, Nicholas Ukachukwu, who is the flag bearer for the AP. These are people who have contested elections time and again. This is not the first time George Moghalu is running for election. He ran for election as far back as 1999. 2003. Same thing with Nicholas Ukachukwu. He ran election as far back as 1999 in Anambra State for governorship. So these are not newcomers to election. So I don't think that they may, because of their ambitions have been crystallized, they may not be able to come together. But that would have been something to be seen, a shocker if it happens. But I am very sure that given their antecedents, that they may not be, a merger. But what will be interesting to see is the role that whoever they choose as deputies will play. Like I informed you now, there's been an announcement that possibly that Senator Uche Ekwuife will be the deputy to St. Nicholas dynamic of its own, because that's Anambra Central. And it is the turn of Anambra Central after Anambra South. So that is how you are going to see some kind of alignments where people who want, because in Anambra Central there's and then there's Senator Victor Ume, who are being looked at, and then there's also Osa Chidoka, who are being looked at. So the election isn't beyond 2025. People are also looking, when the Soludo on Peter Obi, one would not expect Peter Obi to respond back to him in words, but one would expect that he's going to use the election to teach him a lesson. And so you may find that also on the part of Labour Party, there will be a lot of shocker. So that's why I said that the governor, Governor Soludo, won the election in 2021 by 46% of the votes. But I'm not seeing, even if he's going to win, I'm seeing a lot of surprises. It's going to be a very slim win, with a lesser number of governments won. When you look at when they consider the factor of zoning. The zoning system that exists in Anambra State, and how the entities may vote, in regards to the interest that they hold collectively. That will also spell a lot of another dimension in terms of number of states that whoever wins is going to sweep. So it is a lot of dynamics, but opposition unity is not something I'm seeing because, of course, of the antecedents of the leading candidates. There's another candidate on the fringe, the YPP candidates, who I've not mentioned before now. What's his name now? He's from the Anambra North, so he's already misaligned because this is the turn of the Anambra South in terms of the rotation that Anambra has. Paul Shukuma, yes, I think Paul Shukuma is of the YPP now. He was before of the APC, but because during the primaries, just before the primaries, he left the party and joined YPP. They were too glad to have given him the ticket for the YPP. So I don't know how much of a contribution he's going to play in the election, but I'm very sure that because he's not from Anambra South, that already that's already a problem on its own. But of course, the YPP, which is the vehicle he's using, is formidable. You remember that it was a party that Senator OKEKE-ENYOBI used to win, the Senate for two election cycles, and currently they have a lot of people in the House of Assembly and House of Rep from Anambra South. But the point still remains that the factor that made the YPP formidable, that is the late Senator OKEKE-ENYOBI, is no longer there. And also, Paul Shukuma is not from Anambra South, where it is deemed the next the election should go in November 8th. So that is also something that his effect may be negligible, but of course he may just carry maybe one or two words along with him. But opposition unity is not something I'm looking at that will be possible in this election, not in this November, because if it were going to be possible, we would have been seeing signs of that before now. And just now, with the visit of President Tinubu, everybody is trying to gather his own people to himself. The APC is trying to gather their people and be able to show that they have capacity in Anambra State to be able to get the endorsement of the president. The APGA is also endorsing President Tinubu to see if he would be adopted, if they will be adopted as his candidate for the election, because of course we saw what happened in Edo, where that election still has to be one for the history because of the things that kind of infractions that happened during the election, even after the votes have been cast. A lot of votes were found in the gutter and all that. And that is the kind of elections that the APC have given us since 2015. And it speaks to the fact that the masses, that is why mostly here in the Southeast, where people really come out to vote and want their vote to be counted, people are disenchanted with the APC. And that is why you see the race between APGA and the APC in Anambra State to see who wins in favor of the center. Because the APC is trying to win it because they want the endorsement and possibly the impunity that comes from the federal. And also then the APGA is trying to win it to avoid that impunity being meted up on them. Of course, the people who are trusting on the masses to win the election will be the Labour Party, who have neither who are neither aligned with the center, nor are they have off incumbency. And so you see, the election dynamics is very, it's really an interesting one, and it's left to be seen what happens during the campaigns and who, these figures we have mentioned now, how much interest and how much weight they pull will determine how the election is going to go. But something is for sure: the winning of this election will be very slim.
And, very good point that you put out there. But I'm just thinking, you have mentioned that APC, especially around the Southeast, and even Anambra, it is viewed as a party for the Northerners, a party that did not give Igbos the opportunities, So I'm wondering, if Ifeanyi was to be alive, he was going to run on that platform. Do you think anything would have changed?
Surely things would have changed because just again, like I said about it, Toby, sometimes people have high political currency and they are good campaigners. Ifeanyi had this force. Listen to Ifeanyi, he had this force, which worked for him. Because you'll see it in the way he came out with the YPP for the first time in 2017. A newly registered party and won election in the Anambra South Senatorial, contesting against with heavyweights like Senator Oba, the other Oba from Agwata. So you find that it's really about politics in Nigeria and in Africa for the most part, and anywhere in the world. You saw it with Trump in the US. Any other person, any other Republican would have lost that election. So in the same way, because of course, the sentiment against Republicans was also not very palatable for the American public. So in the same way, even though the sentiments of the people here in the East is not so much in line with the APC, you find that there can be an individual that they may be able to trust, there's a way they call it, they say it in Southeast, when they want to vote beyond the party and vote individual, they will say, no, it's a common saying in the streets here. They will now tell you, no, meaning that it is the person that they want to support, not really the party. So that's how sophisticated voters here are in the Southeast, and you may find that would have been it would have been, of course, you will see the language or the body language of APGA and the governor when Dr. Patrick Ifeanyi was alive, and now nobody was making comments like there's no space or there's no vacancy. Everybody was just working hard and working fast to see what they could deliver. But now after his demise, we're hearing comments like there's no space in Agwaka and what have you. These are comments that were not anywhere heard. So it tells you that it was a real nightmare that could have just become a reality. If the universe also does its own part, because as far as anybody observing Anambra politics is concerned, Ifeanyi was going to do his own part. So it was just if the universe does its own part, and then the man would have found himself governor, as he has always dreamed. But the APC is getting some deodorizing with what Governor Soludo is doing now. I think he may be helping the APC at the end of it, because he's now showing people through his comments and his support, saying that APGA will support the APC for the 2027. He has now shown people that there's not much difference between the APGA and the APC. That what elites have always been saying, that in Nigeria that there's nothing like party. That parties are just mere vehicles in Nigeria. There's no ideology. So Governor Soludo may have inadvertently even helped to deodorize the image of the APC, which may come back to haunt him in the election, because now that he has declared the support for President Tinubu, what it now means is that people would now see that there's no difference between APGA and the APC, and that may be the shifts that they have been wanting to have in mindsets that will not even make them vote the APC. So, when in desperation, politicians make certain comments, they may not know how far-reaching those comments may and those actions, may be. Of course, people now are now comfortable. Before now, when you wear the APC jersey or anything in Anambra State, people may be looking at you like somebody has Aqua. But right now, with after the visit of Tinubu and the endorsement by Soludo, people are now, you've seen the street, people are comfortably wearing, APC, and people are comfortably identifying themselves with the party. And that could be very much the undoing of the APGA in Anambra State.
Indeed. Caleb Festus, OKEKE-ENYOBI, many thanks. We truly, really appreciate you for your insight into Anambra and its pending elections. Many thanks again.
Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you, Nigerians, for listening.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.